is the Six Figure Chick Podcast, Episode 6, featuring international best-selling author, certified John Maxwell life coach, CEO and founder of The Place to SOAR. Please welcome Anita Russell.
Hey, buckle up, queens. It's time for the Six Figure Chick Podcast, the one and only podcast made to teach Black women like you how to make a six-figure income. Whether you are a high-performing woman, professional, new business owner, author, speaker, or even a mom, you're sure to pick up golden nuggets of actionable advice when you listen to the Six Figure Chick Podcast. Each week, we will deliver hard-hitting, no-nonsense, keep it real topics about being a Black woman in America and the
girl, hush your mouth.
We deal with. We're going to talk about this
and that,
and we're going to talk about everything else that has held us back. No more, queens. It's time to hear from real people
with real life
and real talk. So grab your best girlfriend and get ready for this ride. Welcome to our virtual green room. This is where you see us getting ready and introducing our guests, and you get to see how I'm dressed with my pajamas on underneath my amazing dress.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I still have my pants on from earlier with the t-shirt. I still have those pants on. I just threw the dress on top.
Me too. Usually I would have my PJs on the bottom, but today I am dressed.
But she still won't show y'all. That's the whole, that's when you know she ain't. No, I'm just saying. Okay, and she matching. And she's matching.
And then I wasn't sure if this was going to be, which is the reason I was dressed the way that I was, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be on Zoom, or because I've done podcasts where I was literally just on the phone as well. So, yeah.
We do Zoom, and so it gets put on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I have no idea why I'm doing my lips, but it looks super cute, so guess I'll keep doing it. My granddaughter's with us today, so let's hope she behaves.
And how old is she?
7 months.
Oh, she's little.
Hold on. No, I think she turned 8 months this month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandson's turning a year this week coming up.
Wow. Okay. Nyoka, we can't hear you, but could we do a sound check, and can we please do an internet check? Thank you.
I said my grandnephew is 4 months, since we're talking about grands.
I love it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cherie, did you send me that email?
Absolutely not. Doing it right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't have grannies yet, but I do have grandnephews. Yay.
Yeah, definitely yay.
My little boys are 11 and 10. So I'm like, I wonder what age I'm going to be when they start having babies.
Well, I can say I was too young.
You're too young. My son was trying to calculate my age and trying to let me know when he was going to start having babies and how old I'm going to be when they start. I'm like, dude, you need to stop. Because he's like, are you going to be in your 60s or your 70s when I start having babies?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Paul Anthony, Yeah. All right, so let me check my email real quick.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm refreshing. I didn't get it yet, Cherie.
All right. Perfect.
Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
Beautiful, because we don't want that issue. And I can hear both of you as well. Okay.
Let's hope I can.
I like your backdrop, Anita.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I did a search earlier today, not so much for this one, but I searched on like the 10 best backdrops for Zoom virtual, and I found like all these really, really incredible pictures that I have to kind of play around with.
Right. Well, this is a nice one.
Nyoka, I have something coming your way.
All right.
You can let me know that you received it.
All right. So my head is not chopped off. Okay, Miss Cherie, got it.
Awesome. Let's see if I can move Zoom right there. No. Okay.
It's
Yay.
still loading up.
And we're in gallery mode. We're excellent.
Funny thing is, it came. Okay, there it is. Got it.
Here we go. Minimize. Okay. All right, are we ready?
We are ready.
Things work out. Love when things work out. Okay, let's pause for a moment. Hi, I'm Cherie Griffith-Dunn.
And I'm Nyoka Wright Smith.
And this is the Six Figure Chick weekly podcast to help you win at work, in your business, and at home. The year of the Black woman is shaping out to be one powerful year. We are excited to bring in rich content about Black people, especially Black women who are pioneers and trailblazers of this amazing country. Today, we will continue our discussion about Black women, Latina women, and Native women who have empowered us all. We want to thank all of our listeners. We truly appreciate your feedback and ratings of our podcast. We do this because we know how important it is to have a voice for Black and Latino women, especially now.
And please, we're asking you, don't forget to smash that like button, give us some thumbs up, and subscribe to our podcast and our YouTube channel where you will experience our virtual room. Oh, come on, let's have some fun.
Yes. And you know, Nyoka, have you heard this week? I was so amazed once again at what's going on in our country with all of the promotions that are taking place for our Black and Latino women.
Oh my
gosh. Shonda Brown Duckett was just named president and CEO by TIAA CREF, effective May 1st. I was like, yes, this is amazing. Another woman showcasing this amazing year of a Black woman. You know, Ms. Duckett, I love the fact that this woman has so much pull, you guys. Let me just say this. So the person who she's succeeding is Roger W. Ferguson Jr.
he's supposed to retire and she's taking his place. But now he is going to extend his retirement. He was supposed to retire March 31st, but he's extending his time to wait for LaShonda. He's waiting for her to come for May. That's a drop the mic type of news right there.
Wow.
But, it's seriously, the reason for that though is because she really brings invaluable experience leading and growing large complex businesses, setting and executing strategy, improving client experience, and attracting and developing talent. Equally important, she is deeply mission oriented with values that reflect those of TIAA. So of course they're going to do everything possible to get this amazing woman into their company. Wow. And furthermore, she also has a passion for financial inclusion and empowerment. That's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
So I am so sad that Chase is losing her. She was the CEO of Chase Consumer Banking, which is a division of JP Morgan Chase and Company. I'm sad she's leaving, but I'm so excited that TIAA is getting her because they're really going to do some amazing things in her company with this woman. Wow. I think some of you women out there listening, I see that there might be some job changes for you. So I would take a look at TIAA, know a little bit more about them, and I'm sure there's going to be some openings. Don't you think, Nyoka?
Totally. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Cherie, you know what? I think we may need to have her on our podcast.
That would be
amazing. Oh my gosh, that would be totally amazing. This is awesome.
I love it. Well, you guys, today we told you that we were going to bring you content that totally enriched your life and gave you hope and showed you the way. We understand the importance of bringing that income into your household, and we also understand how it feels when you don't get the information to do that. So today for our golden nugget, I am excited to introduce one of my girlfriends, Anita Russell. She is committed to doing big things, you guys, building communities, inspiring change, and giving back. She founded the Place to SOAR as a special enterprise dedicated to cultivating change. That's how serious this woman is. The SOAR is the step and redesign to disrupt limiting beliefs and empower deep self-knowledge to get you unstuck in life. Need I say more? This woman, tune in, listen deeper, because you are going to need some of these golden nuggets. She is an international best-selling author. Her most recent collaborative publication is Voices of the 21st Century, Resilient Women Who Rise and Make a Difference. Her next book, you guys, this woman is on a roll. Not that she just had one come out, she has another one coming out, and it's called Cultivating Change from the Inside Out. And that releases on March 23rd. You want to get your copy. She's going to tell you how to get that copy. And I'm telling you, your mind is going to be blown. Anita is also a John Maxwell Certified life coach and international bestselling author with a career experience in multiple disciplines, including pharmaceutical R&D, learning and development, and leadership. And she resides in our one and only city of love, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Please welcome Anita.
Yay.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on this show. I'm really excited to be here just to kind of share some ideas and what's going on and all that good stuff.
Oh, we're so
wonderful.
Happy to have you.
Oh my gosh, Anita, we are thrilled to have you on our podcast today. So we're not going to keep our listeners waiting any longer. We have some juicy questions to ask you. My first question to you is, when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
Oh my God, that is like a book in and of itself. actually came at a moment where I was in a major transition in my life. This is going back to 2013, where I left corporate America and just kind of went on a completely different path and all of that. I left, I'm the person who left knowing that there was something out there I was supposed to do, but I just wasn't 100% sure what it was. So that was definitely a faith walk. I just walked 100% out on faith. And I got invited into a collaborative project. It was my very first time kind of being in that type of, that, and I had been writing kind of off and on, but just kind of for myself. Just kind of on a personal level. I did a little bit of poetry from here time to time. But when I did that project, that was the one that kind of opened me up and said, you know, you could probably do this and do this in a much bigger kind of way. And I started off with that smaller project. And from there, I went into my first independent project. And then I've done like a number of collaborative projects and all of that. But the real excitement for me came when I did my first independent project. So, yeah.
Wow, that is totally amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So how long does it take for you to write a book?
That depends. So I'm going to start by looking at collaborative projects, because the difference between a collaborative project and writing and doing an independent project is usually with a collaboration, there's already a theme, there's some central idea that people are kind of coming from, number one. And number two, there's always a maximum number of words. So it might be 1,500 words, it might be 2,000 words. It just kind of depends on what that particular project is calling for. But when you're writing out of yourself, 100%, kind of got this idea and you got to flesh out the idea and how am I going to put it together and all of that. That was much, much more challenging for me. And when I wrote my first book, and the title of that book is I Want to See Lainey's House. That was a very personal story for me. It was a lot of things going on, a lot of reconciling from things that I had experienced when I was young. And also I was in the middle of writing that book when my mom passed away. And so going through that experience was very, very trying for me. So that book took forever. It really took forever for me to write because it was so much emotional stuff that I was trying to capture.
Right.
And I was beating myself. I was feeling like I was procrastinating and things along those lines. But one of the things that I realized is in writing that book, I met an author and she told me that when she had written her first book, it took her 10 years. And the advice that she gave me is it's your book. It's your birth, so to speak. So you put it out there when you're ready for it to be out there. And I'm glad I listened to that because the experience that I had with my mother ended up playing a really important role in how I ended that book. And had I pushed myself before that experience, I'd say like the last chapter of that book would be completely different at this point. Wow. So it varies. It varies in terms of how long it can take. Yeah.
Wow. I was just like really curious about that because, you know, one of these days I would love to write my own book. So knowing this is very informative, you know, and of course I will be asking you a lot more questions where that is concerned. So then tell me, what's your work schedule like when you're working, you know, like when you're writing? How does that look? What does that look like?
So for the most part, I am the strongest in the morning. When I get up, and particularly when I'm standing in the shower, I have basically written almost an entire chapter just standing in the shower. It just kind of, it's something about the water, just the water washing over me. It like clears my mind and things just start to flow. And so what I've told myself I need to do, because a lot of times when I'm in the shower, I talk out loud, like whatever is flowing, I'm speaking that out loud. And what I decided I was going to do is, if I wake up in the morning, I'm really, really kind of feeling like that, I'm just going to put my phone on record so that it can capture some of the things that that I'm saying. And then from there, I do a lot. Like when I first did the I Want to See Lady's House, my first solo project, I did a lot of writing in the library. I love being in libraries, but not like super modern, contemporary. I like those old school libraries. So I spent a lot of time just kind of being in the library. When I was living in New Jersey, I literally used to leave Trenton and go to the big library in New York City, and I would just be in that space. And I did a lot of writing. So it kind of varies. I'm not like a rigid schedule kind of person. I'll just kind of wake up and say, okay, I need to write today. I've been mulling some things over in my mind, and that thing that I wrote, it doesn't feel right. So I need to go back and fix that. So it's more along those lines. And then one thing that I learned about myself when I first started the bigger project was Post-it notes. I am a Post-it note kind of person, and I literally constructed that book on my bedroom wall with Post-it notes. I had one column for chapter 1, the next column was for chapter 2, and whenever something would come to me, I would just write it down on a Post-it note. And so by the time I got finished, I had enough Post-it notes to fill a composition notebook. And then it was at that point that I found myself back in Pittsburgh and was kind of going through some of those things that I mentioned earlier. So it's a process, but the process is different for everybody. As unique as our stories are, that's how unique the process of writing those stories can actually be.
So it's so funny that you said you were, your clearest, you're at your clearest moment when you're in the shower, that's when you're writing, your thoughts would be coming to you. Now, some people like myself, I sing in the shower. Well, I sing in the shower while you're thinking about your book. And to remember all of that, I guess that's where your clarity, your clearness, you're at your clearest point when you're in the shower, and that is just awesome. So then my other question to you is, what would you say is your interest in writing quirk?
Writing quirk, you said?
Yeah, what's funny? Like, are you quirky when you're writing? What are some of the, like, you said that you use sticky notes to categorize your chapters, what else have you thought of? What else do you do besides, the shower, the clarity, the notes? What else have you found that is unique to you when you're writing your book?
Just kind of talking to people, particularly people that I'm writing about, and just kind of, so I'm still going to use I Want to See Lady's House as my example, because that was my first really, really big project. And one of the things that is a little bit quirky in that book is I had determined that I didn't want to necessarily mention anybody by name, because I was writing some stories about family members and just different things like that. And so rather than calling someone in my family out by name, I gave them a name in the book that represented a characteristic of who they are. So for example, when I was very young, I had an uncle who taught me how to fight, because I was kind of laid back, and, a couple of times I got picked on a little bit. And when my mother found out, she was like, oh no, you are not gonna not defend yourself and all of that. So she had her brother, which was my uncle, teach me how to fight. And so in the book, I refer to him as Fighter Uncle. And then I have another cousin that when we were very young, he would come and stay with us a lot. And he was so hilarious. He was just so funny. And so he became my funny cousin in the book. And so that's literally how I named everybody. And so then it was kind of interesting because when family members would read it, they would say, oh, was that funny cousin? Was that so-and-so? Or was that so-and-so? And that's sort of, so that was a little bit quirky because like I said, I didn't really want to mention anybody specifically by name. I didn't want to get caught up in this she, he. So I just came up with a different way of kind of representing everybody. And then the other thing that's a little bit interesting about me and my writing is that I like acronyms, right? And so what I did was in the Laney book, the word Laney is actually my sister's name. When I was very young, I lost my sister. I was 5, she was 3. Very tragic, traumatic kind of thing. And that story is the beginning of what I talk about at the beginning of the book. But each one of the chapters in the book, the title of the chapter, when you look at the first letter, it makes an acrostic, and that acrostic is LANEY. So just kind of just some little things like that I thought it would be cool to kind of put in there. So I do like little things like that. It's kind of like I grew up being an Alfred Hitchcock fan, right? I used to love Alfred Hitchcock movies. And one of the things that Alfred Hitchcock would do, because he was a director, he wasn't like necessarily an actor, but what he would do in all of his films is he would do a quick cameo. And so whenever I was watching the film, I was always looking like, where's his face gonna pop up? Is he gonna be the person getting on the bus, or what is he gonna be? So just, just kind of little quirky characteristic things like that is what I incorporate in my own writing as well.
Interesting. Because that was like the next question I was going to ask you also, was where you get your information from, your ideas from writing your books. And just hearing you talking about your relatives, they're also giving you ideas, right? I've also thought about writing a book about relatives, but it's very sensitive, and I'm like, how am I going to do that without letting the person know that it's them I'm talking about, right? And not and then some of the things are so sensitive that I don't want to hurt feelings, so I'm like, how would I really put that into writing? Especially if the person is still living. I'm like, I don't want to bring offense or hurt or anything, but it's a story that I think should be told, because it was an experience that I experienced as well, even though it may not be physically, to me, but in the midst of that, I get to witness everything, right? So very interesting to know that you could totally put those characters in there like that without calling names, as you said, he, she.
Yeah, I thought it was really unique. And a lot of thought went into that, right? And that's what I find so amazing, is that as an author, not only as an author, but also as a leader, you're very thoughtful, you're caring, and extremely compassionate about what you do. Everything you do, you put a lot of thought into. And I just feel that those characteristics and qualities of you, Anita, are just beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. So my last and final question to you, Miss Anita, is how do you get published? How does your books get published?
That is such a loaded question. The reason I say that is because when I wrote I Want to See Laney's House, I had no idea what I was doing, to be perfectly honest with you. So in that particular case, I did work specifically with a publishing company from the beginning all the way through the end. The only thing that they did not do for me was the marketing part. So when you think about the publishing of the book, that's the piece of, the writing, and then there's the editing, and then there's the laying out the interior of the book. There's the cover design. There's like all of these different parts of this puzzle that are coming together in order for you to put something on Amazon or whatever that can then be read by people. But the biggest thing, the absolute biggest thing for me, and this was actually something that I failed at with I Want to See Lainey's House, is the marketing. I flat out had no idea. I had no idea. I can remember when I did my book launch, I was like, so I did this book launch and I was on Facebook and I was having a great time and I had it set up. I was doing trivia questions and blah, 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 blah. And then I was just like, now what do I do? So it's very, very challenging to kind of get to that place where you really begin to understand that the writing of the book is only one challenge. And I would say the bigger challenge is marketing the book. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in the collaborative projects that I've done, particularly the Voices of the 21st Century, that series of books, because the people that are involved in that, this is Women Speakers Association, and they're people who do this like regularly, getting books marketed. So I've learned so much just from being a part of that organization. But I would say the first thing is to just remember, getting the book written is one thing, getting the book published is something different, and getting the book marketed is something else that's completely different. And so with the book that's coming out in March, Cultivating Change from the Inside Out, what I did with that was I worked with, because I didn't want to go back to the original publisher that I had done the first book with, because there were some things that I wasn't really happy with. And so what I decided to do was just do some research and find a service out there that I could connect to, and they can do all of these activities for me. And that's what I ended up working with a service, and they did all the editing, they did the design, they were working back and forth with me. It was a really, really great experience. And the work that they produced at the end was exactly what I was looking for. And then, so they got me to the point where having the documents, it's laid out. I got the EPUB. I have the cover design and all of that. And then I pick it up at that point in terms of getting it onto Amazon, and then really, really doing marketing. So I've joined blog lists. I've joined online book clubs and all kinds of things like that. And I also put together a book launch team to kind of help me when I get to that day that is not just me on Facebook all by myself trying to talk about this book and everything. So I'm really excited with this book because, number one, I've learned a lot in the process, and number two, I think this book will be a lot more successful for me than when I did I Want to See Lainey's House. But one of the things that I'm actually looking at is reintroducing the Lainey book as well. Now that I know a little bit more about marketing, I can kind of do that and maybe get a little bit more, because it's a really good book, you know, but it just
Sounds it.
Yeah, it just didn't get the marketing that it needed to be successful.
Well, you live and you learn, right?
Yeah. Anita, could you tell us a little bit about your book and how people can actually get a copy of the book?
Right, so Cultivating Change from the Inside Out. I'm still kind of doing some of those things in the background. So the best way to find out where I am is to go to my author page, and that is Anita D. Russell, author.com. Anita D. Russell, author.com. That's the best place to kind of go, because you can go there, you can get a little information on the book, updates and things of that nature. So once I get everything done within like the next day or so, putting it into Amazon, and then, you know, there's a process even with putting it into Amazon, being able to set it up for pre-orders and just different things along those lines. But yeah, just going to my author page is the best place to go right now.
That's excellent. So I just want to repeat that again, and it is going to be listed for everyone to get their copy, because you don't want to miss this copy of this book, because it sounds really, really juicy. And I know a bit about it, and I know you'll share a little bit with us. So that's AnitaRussellAuthor.com.
Anita D. Russell.
Anita D. Thank you.
For all my writing, I always use my middle initial D. So that's how you can kind of distinguish. It's always Anita D. Russell, author.com.
And that's D as in David.
Yes. Or D as in Dawn, which is my middle name.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, Dawn.
You would fit in perfect with my kids because they're all named with D. Their names start with a D. So if I had a daughter, Dawn would be perfect. So Anita, when we first talked about this book, you had said that this book was inspired by your grandson. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So it's really interesting because even in the Voices book, the chapter that I wrote in that book was actually the stepping stone into the larger book, the Cultivating Change. So they both started with a question that my daughter had asked me. This was shortly after George Floyd was murdered, and my two daughters and one of my nephews, they were preparing to go out and march in the city of Pittsburgh. And I went into the room with my daughter, and she's the one that has the new baby. His name is Cairo, and he's 1 year old in like another week or so. And at the time we had this conversation, he was just about 3 months old, I want to say, somewhere around in there. And it was so heartbreaking in a way, this conversation that we had, because what we were talking about, so as they're preparing to go out in March, it was very reminiscent of when I was younger and I watched my mom, because my mom was very much an activist. And I watched my mom when she would get prepared to go out and march, the way, the things that she would put on to protect her body and just different things along those lines. So it was a very poignant moment, if you will. And so I was having this conversation with her, and I was talking about, oh yeah, I remember when, Grandma Millie would go out in March, and now I'm looking at you and you're going out in March. And then she looked at me with this little bit of a solemn look in her face, and she said, well, Grandma Millie marched, and then you marched. Now I'm marching. Do you think Cairo's gonna have to march? That question just blew me away. And
powerful.
It was. And it actually sparked the chapter that I wrote in the Voices book, which is, the title of that book is Musings of a COVID-19 Baby, because he was born in the month of March in 2020, when things were really just starting to get a little bit crazy. But what I talk about in the book kind of is from this, or in that story rather, is this reality that we're dealing with two pandemics. One is the biological pandemic with the coronavirus and, all of that. But then we also have the other one, which is a systemic problem, and that is racism. And so the question being, okay, here's this little baby born in this particular time period, and he's a COVID-19 baby. So we've got to be very protective of him from that perspective, making sure that he's taken care of, he's not exposed, he's a brand new baby, and all of that. But then also thinking about, oh my gosh, all the things that we're going to have to teach him as a melanized baby boy living in a racialized society. And that was it just really brought all of that home, the things that we have to teach him. And I began to understand that when I wrote that chapter, it was actually a grandmother's prayer. And it was a prayer that my grandson will not have to protest like that. It was a prayer that he will have his birthright to freely live in the skin in which he was born, that should not be a deterrent or anything to him, that his dreams should not be broken, his dreams should not be deferred because his skin is brown. You know, so that was very, very powerful. And then from there is when I started thinking, okay, we need to change. It's just period. We just need to change. And I started reading a lot more about the idea of dismantling racism. What does that actually look like? So I, studied Ibram Kendi as an example. I read, White Fragility, like all of these different things. And my whole entire thing was, this system needs to go. System needs to go because my grandson needs to be able to grow up and be able to pursue that life, liberty, and happiness that we're supposed to all get as citizens of this country. And so it was a very powerful moment that sparked that short story, and then it sparked this book. And so the book is all about this idea that dismantling racism has to be an inside job. And what I mean by that, it's not just about laws, it's not just about legislation. I mean, Dr. King once said, you can't legislate morality. And it's not about systems, it's not about economics exclusively. It's about what lies in the hearts and minds of people. What are those thoughts, those ideas, those beliefs? Because when you look at racism as a concept, as a construct, it came out of somebody's idea. It came out of somebody's thought. So it's not like it's this thing that kind of spontaneously generated itself. It came from ideas. And so the way I look at it, and we can start changing those ideas, helping people individually hold themselves more accountable for the role that they play in maintaining that system and being through truth, reconciliation, to dismantle racism. That's really what it boils down to for me, because I think my grandson deserves that. Not just him. I have a 13-year-old grandson. He deserves that. And when they were here, he was out playing in the front one day. And all of a sudden, he just kind of can't. This is the 13-year-old. All of a sudden, he came back up on the porch. He was just riding his skateboard, and doing what 13-year-olds do in front of the house, right? And he came back up on the porch, and I asked him, why did he come back? And he said, the reason is because the police came on the street. And so it's in his mind, as soon as he saw the police, I need to retreat. It shouldn't be that way. It just shouldn't be that way.
Yes.
So the whole idea of dismantling racism is kind of the platform that I stand on, but I do it from the perspective of coaching people to understand that they have to change, make personal transformations within themselves, and then bring that out into the world.
This is why we do this podcast, right? Because we understand that as Black women and Latino women, Native women, our lives have been limited. And we've had to really teach our children different way of living with the understanding that they must follow things in a specific order. It's just like it's embedded in our children that we tell them that the police are their friends and are there to support and help them. But what they're seeing is that the police don't support them. And they're growing up as Black men, Black women, Latino men, Native men, Native women with this fear of authority. And I know Nyoka and I joke sometimes about the fact that you see the exchange, right? Where a police officer and a white male or female, when they're having conversation, it's as if they're having a conversation, but it's completely different when it comes to us. And you're right, dismantling racism, sign me up. This is what we need to do. We have got to go to the core of what has caused this systemic racism and dismantle it. Beautiful. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
And I think one of the
go ahead.
I'm just going to make the point that along the lines of Robin DiAngelo's book, Right Fragility, I think that one of the things that white people fear the most is that somehow we want to take from them. that somehow we want to flip the scale so that we're on top and they're on the bottom. That's not really what we want. What we want is for you to leave us alone. What we want is to be able to be self-determining in our own lives and not having somebody outside of who I am define for me what I can do, what I can't do. You can go here, you can go there. Or, you know, one look at my skin, oh, I didn't know you were Black, but now that I see that you're Black, you can't have this job. Just different things like that. Just leave us alone, because we can do perfectly fine within what we have inside of us. And so I'd say that that's like one of their fears. We don't want your power. We want equitable power, but we're not trying to take, and it's not like we want to flip and put you in our place. And no, that would be wrong. That would be wrong. We just want to be left alone so that we can grow according to our birthright.
So true. I mean, we're individuals, we're people. Blood runs and flows through our veins the same way. And all we want to do is to live like anyone else as a human being, because I mean, I don't know for anyone else, but I know that's how I view everyone, humans. I'm not viewing you as you're white, you're Chinese, you're human. You're my brother, you're my sister. That's how I'm looking at you, right? I'm not looking at you in any other way than you're a human being. And if you hurt, hello, I hurt too, right? We all feel the same pain. If somebody hurts you, you feel that pain, right? So yeah, that's all we need. Let us just live. Let us just live in love. You know, yes, I know they're like, oh, Black folks are so aggressive, and you know, why do our Black brothers run when they see the cops or what have you? Well, there is a reason for that, right? Because of how they're being treated. So automatically in their brain, they're like, I gotta escape, because if I don't, I'm gonna get, you know, it's just, what do you do? What do you really do? You know, you say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, whatever, but yet still the situation still goes haywire. You know, no matter what you try, you try the aggressive thing to say, listen, you know, I'm human and I deserve to speak. I have a voice and I deserve to be heard. And you also try the yes, sir thing, but still, you know, what do we do? What do we do? How do we really, really get past all of this? And you're right. You know, is it that the fear factor is they're thinking, you know, we're going to be on top and then treat them the way they treat us?
That just says to me, they acknowledge they don't treat us right.
Right, exactly.
And listen, we're not saying all of them are like that. We're talking about the individuals who look at Black people as nothing. We are somebody, you know. I know I was talking to a couple of, you know, my white friends and stuff like, and some were getting agitated and irritated about Black Lives Matter. And I says, listen, it's not about that, because you're like, our lives matter too. What about our lives? And I says, I get it. Your life matters too. And we're not directing Black Lives Matter to you who don't have a problem with us. We're directing that to those people who have a problem with us, that our lives matter, right? Our lives matters, not about you who don't have a problem with Black people. It's about the other side, the other people who have a problem with Black people, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and I think they missed the point where, you know, you said that their lives matter too. Well, you don't have to fight for yours.
Right, exactly. It's a completely different experience for us. And so I did this anti-racism workshop, or kind of a mastermind thing. And one of the tools that I use to help people to kind of wrap their minds around the idea that life in America looks one way for this particular group of people, the dominant group, and it looks completely different. And so the analogy that I used was a coin. So if you pick up a coin any US coin or other coins that I've seen, from other countries, one side looks one way, the other side looks completely different. Like I have never seen a coin where both sides were exactly the same, right? But then there's the third side of the coin, and that is the edge, right? And so what I did was I talked to them about, you live on this side of the coin, and all of the stuff that you're able to see is on that side of the coin. I live on this side of the coin. And all the things that I am able to see are the things that reside on my side of the coin. But because of the way the society is set up, we also have a very good understanding of what things look like on your side of the coin. So there's a disadvantage there for you because you don't have that level of awareness that we have, because that level of awareness for us to a certain extent is about survival sometimes. We have to have that level of awareness because over on that side, there's all these expectations and these, things are defined in a certain way. You got a white waterfront, you got a black waterfront, you got this, you got that. And so if we don't understand what's on your side of the coin, it can cost us our lives. When you think about lynching and things like that, it can cost us our lives. But then on the other hand, you have no idea what the reality is on our side of the coin. And so if you want to be conscious, and if you want to be responsible, and if you want to be accountable, you have to be willing to elevate yourself and stand on the edge. Because when you stand on the edge, you get a 360 view. You get that 360 view. And even when you notice things and begin to become aware of things on my side of the coin that you had no idea even existed. And so that's that whole entire change from the inside out. You got to think within yourself to make a change that can be impactful outside of yourself.
Did I not tell you guys that she would be dropping nuggets? She kept dropping them and dropping them and dropping them. Thank you so much for being with us today, Anita. You truly have blessed us and our audience, and I cannot wait for your book to come out. You're going to go to Anita D. Russell, author.com, and we will have all the links for you so that you don't miss that opportunity to get your copy of this amazing book that she has coming out. What is the name of the book again?
It's called Cultivating Change from the Inside Out. And the subtitle is The Power of Being Human.
Powerful.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to want to purchase this book. Yes. And will use it. And I know that it's going to truly create change.
Yes, for my grandson, right? For Cairo. That's what it's all about, making that life, different life for him.
Oh my gosh, yes. For your son, for my sons, for Nyoka's sons, for all of them, everyone in our life. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Anita. Totally appreciate you being on today.
Pleasure. Oh my gosh, it was such a pleasure to be here. And I appreciated meeting you. And of course, Cherie, I always like talking to you. So it's been a pleasure. And I'm very, very grateful that you invited me here.
It's our pleasure. Nyoka, please tell everyone who you are.
Well, I am Nyoka Wright Smith, president of NAWS Coaching and Consulting LLC, and I am a business wealth expert. I help my clients by empowering them with the knowledge, the skills, the guidance, and the recommendation they need to help them build wealth. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We truly appreciate you for tuning in today.
I am Cherie Griffith-Dunn, your business wealth coach. I am not a wealth coach. I'm sorry, I don't even know why I said that. I am your business growth coach who loves to make you wealthy. I'm a motivational speaker, #1 bestselling author, and newly international bestselling author. Super excited about that.
founder and CEO of High Performing Women Academy, the place where you belong. We are now accepting applications. Go to hpwacademy.com. I'm your gluten-free foodie, mom of 6 sons, married to the love of my life, and obsessed with traveling as soon as the band is lifted. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please be sure to subscribe and check us out on iTunes, Pandora, Anchor. And if you don't want to miss us, go ahead over to YouTube and click the little bell so that you get notified each time one of our brand new podcasts is released on YouTube. Thank you for joining. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
This has been another episode of the Six Figure Chick podcast. Please be sure to join us next time for some more hard-hitting career and business advice. To stay connected, follow me on Instagram at Cherie Griffith-Dunn. And if you would like to be a part of the baddest club around, join High Performing Women Academy, the place where you belong. Go to hpwacademy.com. And as always, if you like what you hear, come back and next time, bring a friend. If you're interested in sponsoring, donating, or even advertising your business with me, please contact me at connect@CherieGriffithDunn.com.